really happens when you die. Suddenly you don't see it coming. It isn't a prophecy or a feeling in your chest or some cinematic moment where the room goes quiet and the camera pulls back. It's closer to reaching for your keys in the same place you always leave them. And they're not there. You pat your pockets, you check the counter. You feel that small, dumb confusion, that tiny pause. And then you remember, that's what it's like. And if you're drawn to quiet truths, the kind that don't shout but don't let go either, you can subscribe, not for updates, just so you can stay close to these conversations when you need them. Most days don't feel like they're leading anywhere. They feel like they're repeating. You wake up and the light looks the same as yesterday's light. Maybe not exactly, but close enough that your brain doesn't bother to notice. Your body already knows the route from bed to bathroom, from bathroom to kitchen. You move through it half blind, half dreaming. The floor is cold in the same places. The mug you always use has that small chip on the rim. You think, I should throw that away, and you don't. Somewhere, your phone is already asking for you. Not loudly, just a little vibration, a little screen glow, something wanting a response. The day begins before you even decide you're in it. You stand there and stare at the fridge for a second, like the fridge might offer a new option. Like one morning, it'll open and there'll be a different life inside. You pick whatever's easiest. You chew without tasting much, not because it's bad, just because you're elsewhere, already in the meeting you haven't had yet, already in the thing you have to remember to do later. Later is a wide, soft word. It holds everything. Later is where the phone calls go. Later is where the apology sits, still folded neatly, still unused. Later is where the trip lives, the one you keep saying you'll take when work slows down, when the kids are older, when you're less tired, when you're less whatever you are right now. You don't say, I'm afraid. You don't say, I don't know how to change. You say, after this week. You say, when things settle. As if life is a table you can finally clear. And it's not that you're lying on purpose. It's that the lie is built into the way the day is designed. The day is heavy. It comes with tasks. It comes with obligations that don't feel optional. It comes with people who need things from you and people you need things from. It comes with the rent, the emails, the groceries, the laundry, the relationship maintenance. The small injuries that happen when you live with other human beings, the wrong tone, the forgotten birthday, the comment you didn't mean but didn't take back. So you cope. You make routines because routines keep you from thinking too hard. You keep moving because stopping means you might hear something you've been avoiding. Sometimes, late at night, you do stop. Not intentionally. It's just that the house gets quiet. The messages slow down. The screen brightness goes lower. The day finally runs out of energy to demand things. And there you are, sitting on the edge of your bed, or leaning against the counter, or standing in the bathroom with the faucet running too long. You look at your own face in the mirror and it's familiar, but also a little strange, like you've been borrowing it. Your eyes look tired in a way that doesn't go away with sleep. Your hair is doing whatever it does when no one is watching. You think, I should be happier than this. You don't say it out loud because it sounds ungrateful. Because you have things. Because you've built something. Because you have things. Because there are people who have it worse, and you don't want to be that person who complains with a full fridge. So you swallow it, and you go back to your normal life. You tell yourself it's fine. You tell yourself you're just in a phase. You tell yourself you'll figure it out. And you believe you have time to figure it out. That's the quiet assumption running underneath everything. Time is stable. Time is yours. Time is a hallway you can walk down at your own pace. You don't wake up thinking, this might be it. You wake up thinking, what do I need to get done? What do I need to fix? What do I need to keep from falling apart? And the days stack. They stack like dishes, like unopened mail, like the laundry you keep meaning to fold. They stack into weeks, and then somehow it's a different season, and you can't remember the last time you felt fully present in your own life. but you still call it living. You still say, "I've been busy." Busy is another soft word. It sounds responsible. It sounds like effort. It sounds like a life being built. Sometimes busy is just being pulled. Sometimes it's just being dragged through your own days by other people's expectations and your own fear of stopping. And the thing is, normal life doesn't feel like a lie while you're inside it. It feels like reality. It feels like what everyone else is doing too. You look around and people are doing the same thing, commuting, working, scrolling, laughing at things they don't really find funny, posting pictures of meals, complaining about traffic, buying things they don't need, drinking coffee they don't taste, saying "we should" to friends they don't see. You don't see the cliff. You see a calendar. You see plans. You see next month, next year, the vague promise of someday. And every now and then, something tries to interrupt this. A funeral notice you scroll past. A text that says, "Can you call me when you have a second?" And you don't. A photo memory that shows you laughing with someone you don't talk to anymore, and you feel a small ache, and then you swipe away. But mostly, the machine of life keeps going. Because it has to. Because the rent doesn't care about your existential dread. Because your kids still need lunches. Because your boss still wants the report. Because your parents still age quietly in the background like a clock you never look at. And you can't hold all of it at once. So you don't. You simplify. You make your world small enough to manage. You handle the urgent things and you postpone the important ones. Not because you don't know the difference. Because the important ones, they're scary. They ask something of you that you're not sure you can give. The conversation you've been avoiding with the person you love because you don't want to admit you feel lonely next to them. The apology you owe because you don't want to feel like the bad guy. The dream you keep locked away because if you touch it and it doesn't work, you'll have to grieve it for real. So you leave it where it is. You say, "later," and the days keep coming, ordinary and dependable, like they've signed a contract with you. You start to trust that contract without realizing it. You start to live like the end is always far away, even when you've seen the opposite happen to other people, even when you've stood in hospital parking lots, even when you've watched someone's name become past tense. You still go home and make dinner. You still fold laundry. You still put things in the fridge like you'll be here to eat them. And that's the lie. Not that you're immortal. Just that you live like you have time, like you can be careless with it, like you can spend it on things you don't even like, and then somehow buy it back later, and then one day something small doesn't happen. It's not dramatic, it's almost annoying. A message doesn't get replied to. A chair stays empty. A familiar sound in the house doesn't happen and you don't notice at first because you're thinking about something else. The coffee maker clicks on, but no one comes into the kitchen. The shower doesn't run. The front door doesn't open at the time it usually does. The dog waits by the window longer than normal. A phone sits face down, silent, like it's taking a break. At first it feels like a normal glitch, like someone overslept, like someone is stuck in traffic, like someone is being inconsiderate. You even feel that little flicker of irritation, because you're still in normal life. You're still in the lie, and absence doesn't announce itself. It's not a siren. It's not a headline. It's just a gap. A missing step in a familiar routine. You look at the gap and your mind tries to fill it with something ordinary. They must be busy. They must have forgotten. They'll call back. They always do. And then there's that moment, usually small enough to miss when your body knows before your brain does. Not with certainty. Just with a weight, a heaviness that comes in without permission. Like a cold draft, like something shifting in the air. You still don't say the word. You don't want to. You keep moving because that's what you do. But something has changed. Not in the room, in you. Afterward, people will talk about suddenly, like it's a kind of violence. But suddenly isn't always loud. Sometimes suddenly is just the last normal day you didn't recognize as the last normal day. It was the last time you said, "I'm busy, can we talk later?" The last time you left the room mid-conversation because you wanted to check something on your phone. The last time you saw their name on your screen and thought, I'll respond when I have a minute. And then there isn't a minute. Not the kind you mean. There's still time in the world, of course. The clocks don't stop because someone is gone. The sun still rises like it doesn't know. Your calendar keeps its appointments. Your bills keep arriving. The grocery store still restocks the same shelves. It's almost insulting how normal everything stays. You learn quickly that the world doesn't pause with you. It doesn't gather around your grief and wait politely. It keeps moving at the same pace it always did. Which means you have to move too, even if you don't know how. And that's when it starts, not the drama. The inventory. Because when a person is gone suddenly, what's left isn't just sadness. It's all the unfinished things. It's the half sentences. It's the conversations that were mid-flight. It's the parts of your life you assumed you could return to later. And now later is gone. People think regret is something big, like falling to your knees in the rain, screaming a name. Sometimes it is, but most of the time, regret is quieter than that. Regret is standing in a grocery store aisle, reaching automatically for the thing they liked, and then remembering there's no reason to buy it anymore. Regret is hearing a joke and turning to tell them and then catching yourself. Regret is seeing something beautiful, an odd sunset, a dog with a ridiculous face, a song you know they would have loved and having nowhere to send it. Regret is the muscle memory of love with no place to go, and it doesn't happen once. It happens in pieces at random for months, sometimes years. Because the body holds routines the mind hasn't updated yet, so you keep reaching, you keep turning, you keep expecting, and the absence keeps answering you calmly, over and over. No, not anymore. You start replaying things you didn't even know you'd stored. The last voicemail you didn't listen to right away. The last dinner where you weren't really there. The last time they asked you something simple like, "How was your day?" And you gave them the short version because you were tired and you didn't want to open the whole thing. You wonder what they heard in your voice. You wonder what they needed that you missed because you were in a hurry. And here's the part people don't say out loud because it sounds cruel, and because no one wants to blame themselves when someone dies. But it's true anyway. A sudden death doesn't only take the person, it takes the version of you that you would have been if you'd known. If you'd known that the last time was the last time, you would have said different things. You would have stayed in the doorway a few seconds longer. You would have hugged them like you meant it, not like you were checking a box. You would have asked the second question after, "How are you?" You know the one, the question that opens the real door. But you didn't, because you didn't know. And because you didn't know, you lived like most of us live, distracted, rushed, half listening, half present, not because you didn't care, because caring doesn't automatically make you brave, because caring doesn't automatically make you slow down, because caring doesn't automatically make you put your phone down. You start to see how much of your life was spent elsewhere, not physically, mentally. You were always one step ahead, one step away, living in the next thing. You were in the future when you were supposed to be in the room, and now the room is empty. It's strange what suddenly feels important. The small things become sharp. A sweater still hanging in the closet, a mug with a stain that won't wash out, a note in their handwriting that you used to treat like clutter, a stupid little object on a shelf that you never paid attention to, but now feels like it's holding their fingerprints. You start to understand that a person is not just their big moments. They are their ordinary repetition. They are the way they close a drawer, the way they hum without realizing it, the way they pause before answering certain questions, the way they mispronounce a word, the way they reach for your shoulder when they pass behind you. All of that goes quiet, and you don't realize how much sound was holding your life together until it's gone. Then the regret begins to take different shapes. Not just regret about them. Regret about you, about the way you lived. Because sudden absence doesn't only make you miss someone, it makes you look at your own life like it's a room you've been renting without reading the lease. You start noticing what you trade your days for, how many hours you gave to things that won't remember you, how much energy you spend maintaining an image or keeping up or proving something to people who weren't even paying attention. How many nights you sat in front of a screen, numb, scrolling like a thumb-driven prayer that something would make you feel alive again. And the cruel part is, you did it thinking time was infinite, or at least flexible. You treated time like a resource you could borrow against, like you could go into debt now and pay it back later with some grand, meaningful future. But suddenly introduces a new reality. There is no later that you can count on. There is only now, and now is usually wasted. That's what hits people. Not the concept of death, the concept of postponement. You start thinking about all the things you delayed because they didn't feel urgent. The friend you kept saying you'd visit, the parent you kept meaning to call but you didn't want the conversation to be heavy, so you avoided it, and you told yourself you'd do it when you had more emotional bandwidth. The relationship you kept on life support because ending it felt like admitting failure and starting over felt exhausting, so you just stayed. The passion you kept quiet because you didn't want to look foolish. The work you hated but tolerated because it paid, because it was stable, because leaving would mean risk. The body you lived in like a machine, not like a home. The words you swallowed. The questions you didn't ask. The versions of yourself you kept delaying, like they were optional. And then you remember the person who disappeared suddenly. You remember how ordinary their last day probably was. They probably had plans too. They probably had something they were going to do soon. They probably had a little list in their head of things they'd get to once the busy part passed. Everyone does. And now you can't stop thinking about the fact that they never got to it. Not because they were irresponsible. Because the world doesn't care about our plans. The world lets you schedule things as a kindness, like a parent letting a child play with a toy phone. You can put things on calendars. You can say, next year. You can buy tickets for months from now, and then suddenly shows you the truth. The calendar is not a contract, so you start to wonder, in the quietest, most private way, what would be left unfinished if you were the one who stopped. Not in a dramatic sense, not with a moral lesson, just realistically. What messages would still be sitting in your drafts? What apologies would still be waiting in your throat? What relationships would still be in their Cold War, unresolved? What parts of you would have never been seen by anyone because you kept them hidden behind practicality and self-control? You think about the things you've been meaning to say, and it's weird because you can't even fully explain why you haven't said them. It's not always fear. Sometimes it's just habit. Sometimes you don't say I love you because you said it yesterday and it feels redundant. Sometimes you don't say I'm sorry because you don't want to reopen something. Sometimes you don't say I miss you because it makes you feel exposed. Sometimes you don't say I'm not okay because you don't want to become a burden. So you stay in the safe language, the light language, the efficient language. Sounds good. Yep. Later. Busy. And then absence makes that language look small. It makes it look like you spent your life speaking in abbreviations. There's a specific kind of regret that comes when you realize you were loved, and you still kept parts of yourself locked. Not because you didn't trust the person, because you didn't know how to be fully seen. A sudden death doesn't just take them away. It exposes the gap between what you felt and what you expressed, between what you meant and what you actually did, between the love you had and the love you showed, and that gap becomes a room you have to live in. A room with no furniture, just echoes. You start remembering moments that seemed unimportant at the time. They asked you to come sit with them for a second and you said, in a minute, without looking up. They told you a story you'd heard before and you half listened because you'd heard it before. They tried to show you something small, something stupid, and you were impatient because you were tired, because you wanted quiet, because you thought you had endless chances to be generous later. Later doesn't come, and you're left holding these tiny moments like broken glass, not because they were huge, because they were the real fabric of life. That's the part no one warns you about. Not the big regrets, the small ones. The small ones are everywhere. They hide in everyday objects. They hide in the way you fold towels. They hide in the silence after certain songs. They hide in phrases you can't use anymore because there's no one to hear them. And over time, the regret changes again. It becomes less about what happened and more about what it reveals. You realize how much you were waiting for permission. Permission to start living the life you actually wanted. Permission to stop performing. Permission to rest without guilt. Permission to be honest. Permission to choose something different. And you never got that permission because you never asked. You kept thinking some future version of you would be braver, more confident, less afraid, less tired. But future you is still you, just older, and suddenly makes that obvious. You also start seeing how much comfort anesthetizes you. Not comfort like warmth and safety, comfort like warmth and safety, comfort like avoidance, but comfort of the couch, the comfort of saying nothing, the comfort of keeping things the way they are because changing would cause a disturbance, the comfort of pretending you'll address the hard thing tomorrow, the comfort of distraction. Distraction is its own kind of slow disappearance. You don't vanish all at once. You vanish in increments. One evening at a time. Just one more episode at a time. One scroll until your eyes burn. One day where you don't go outside. 1 week where you don't call anyone back. 1 month where you don't touch the thing you love. And suddenly, years. People talk about midlife crises like they're about sports cars or affairs or panic. Sometimes it's simpler. Sometimes it's just waking up and realizing you have been absent from your own life for a long time. And sudden death someone else's puts your hand on that realization. Not in a motivational way. Not like a coach yelling at you. In a quieter way. Like walking into a room and seeing a coat still hanging on a hook and knowing the person who wore it will never wear it again. The coat doesn't do anything. It just hangs there. And you feel it. You feel the finality in the stillness. And you think about your own coat, your own hook, your own unfinished conversations, your own half-lived days. There's another kind of regret people don't like admitting. Regret about resentment, all the energy you spent being irritated at small things, the way you held grudges because you thought you'd eventually resolve them, the way you withheld warmth because you were waiting for someone else to go first, the way you punished people silently in your own head because it felt safer than saying what you needed, and then they're gone. And the resentment has nowhere to go, so it turns inward. It becomes this embarrassing little thing you carry. Like, really? That's what I spent my time on? That argument about dishes. That cold shoulder. That month you didn't speak because you were both stubborn. You start seeing how ridiculous some of it was. Not because it didn't matter, but because you thought you had an infinite supply of days to be difficult. Suddenly makes you aware of how fragile normal is. Normal is not guaranteed. Normal is a privilege you don't notice until it's taken. A text you can respond to. A voice you can call. A person you can annoy and still see tomorrow. And it's unsettling because the world teaches you to build your life around stability. To plan, to save, to schedule, to invest, to optimize. But none of that protects you from the most basic truth. A life can stop without warning, and the people left behind will still have to finish their coffee. They will still have to go to work. They will still have to answer emails. They will still have to laugh at someone's joke in a meeting while feeling like they're watching themselves from far away. Because grief doesn't always look like crying. Sometimes it looks like functioning. Sometimes it looks like an ordinary person doing ordinary tasks with an extraordinary weight inside them. And that's where the existential part shows up, not as philosophy, as a lived sensation. You start to feel time differently, not like a long road, like a thin sheet, like something you could tear by accident. You notice how fast a day disappears, You notice how many hours you give away without remembering them. You notice how much of your life is made of moments you won't be able to recall because you weren't really there when they happened. And the regret isn't just sadness. It's a kind of humiliation. Like being caught, like realizing you were given something rare and you treated it like background noise. You were given mornings and you rushed through them. You were given people and you assumed they would stay. You were given a body and you only noticed it when it hurt. You were given chances to speak and you stayed quiet to keep the peace. You were given choices and you chose what was easiest. And then you realize it wasn't evil. It was just human. It was just inertia. Most of life is inertia. Most of life is continuing what you started because stopping would require you to decide. And deciding is hard. Deciding means you might disappoint someone. Deciding means you might fail. Deciding means you might have to admit you've been living the wrong life. So you keep moving. You keep doing the next thing. You tell yourself you'll decide later. But later is a place that suddenly doesn't always allow entry. When someone dies suddenly, you also realize how much of them you didn't know. Because we think we know people because we know their routines. But routines are just the surface. The real person is in the thoughts they never said out loud, the fears they carried quietly, the regrets they never confessed, the things they wanted but didn't ask for. And you start wondering what they were holding back, what they planned to do, what they were afraid of, what they wanted from you that they didn't say because they didn't want to be needy or dramatic or difficult, and you can't ask now. So your mind fills in the blanks with possibilities. And possibilities are a cruel kind of ghost. They don't let you rest. You imagine them thinking you didn't care. You imagine them feeling lonely next to you. You imagine them wishing you'd noticed something. And you don't know if any of it is true, but you carry it anyway. Because uncertainty is part of sudden loss. There's no gradual preparation, no slow goodbye, no time to adjust, just before and after, just normal and then not. And then there's the part where everyone else returns to their normal quicker than you can. People ask, "How are you holding up?" And you say, "I'm okay," because you don't know what else to say. You don't want to make them uncomfortable. You don't want to become a permanent tragedy in the room. So you learn to compress your grief into acceptable sizes. You learn to cry quietly. You learn to swallow it before work. You learn to smile at the cashier. You learn to answer emails with proper punctuation. You learn to live around the hole. And the hole doesn't close. It just becomes part of the architecture. Sometimes the hole isn't even about grief. Sometimes it's about recognition. Recognition that you are not as present as you thought you were. That your life is not as intentional as you believed. That you've been drifting. That you've been postponing. That you've been trading your time for things that don't return love. That you've been waiting for the right moment to start living. And the right moment keeps moving further away like a horizon. And then you remember, the person who died suddenly probably thought the same thing. Not in those words, but in the way everyone does. The way we all assume we can start later, and suddenly makes you realize the thing you don't want to admit. Your life is not waiting for you. It's happening without you. That's the most unsettling thought. Not that you will die, that you might never have really lived before you do. You might have been present for the highlights, vacations, celebrations, a few good nights with friends. But the majority might have passed like background music, and then the regret deepens, because it isn't just about what you didn't do. It's about who you didn't become. There's a person inside you, maybe quieter, maybe braver, maybe softer, who has been waiting for you to stop hiding behind busyness, waiting for you to stop pretending you're fine, waiting for you to stop living for approval, waiting for you to stop numbing yourself with convenience. And you keep postponing meeting that person. You keep delaying your own arrival and sudden death again. Someone else's makes you realize how fragile that postponement is. There's no guarantee you'll ever meet yourself, not fully, not honestly, not with time to settle into it. So you sit with this weird, heavy awareness. You go through the motions of your life, and everything looks slightly different. The morning light feels less innocent. The sound of your own footsteps in the hallway feels louder. You notice your hands more. You notice the way your loved ones speak when they're tired. You notice the small irritations you used to treat like emergencies. You see them for what they are, noise. But you don't become a better person overnight. That's the other lie people tell. That loss changes you cleanly. It doesn't. Loss just reveals you. It reveals what you were already doing. And sometimes, after the funeral and the messages and the initial shock, you drift back into old patterns, because patterns are strong, because the world demands you return, because grief is exhausting, because awareness hurts. So you numb again, you scroll again, you stay busy again, and then you hate yourself for it, because you think, I should be different now, but you're not fully, not yet, and that brings another kind of regret, the regret of knowing and still not changing. Knowing and still postponing. Knowing and still living like time is guaranteed. It's almost worse in a way. Because ignorance was lighter. Ignorance let you drift without guilt. But now you've seen the truth, even if only through the doorway of someone else's absence. And you can't unsee it. You carry it into ordinary moments, into meetings, into traffic, into laughter that feels wrong at first, and then slowly feels normal again. You carry it when you buy groceries, when you put gas in the car, when you brush your teeth. It sits behind your eyes, not always, but enough to make you feel slightly out of place in your own life, like you're watching it, like you're not fully inside it. And that's when you start noticing the ways people avoid this truth, how quickly we fill silence, how quickly we change the subject when things get too real, how we make jokes, how we turn everything into content, how we talk about life like it's something we can manage if we just try hard enough. We don't like helplessness. We don't like uncertainty. We don't like the idea that we are not in control, so we build lives that feel controlled. We buy planners, we set goals, we track habits, we optimize routines. We do all of that. And it can be useful, sure, but sudden absence laughs at it, not loudly, just by existing, just by showing you that a person can vanish from the plan without asking permission. And what's left behind is not just sadness, it's the awareness that you are also vulnerable to vanishing, which brings you back to the question you don't say out loud. What are you doing with your time? Not in a motivational way, not as a self-help prompt, as a quiet accusation, a private one, because you know the answer, at least a little. You know the hours you waste. You know the conversations you avoid. You know the people you keep at a distance because intimacy makes you nervous. You know the truth you keep hiding behind politeness. You know the life you keep postponing because it would require you to disappoint the version of yourself you've been pretending to be. And that's the core of it, the postponed life. It doesn't feel dramatic while you're living it. It feels normal. It feels like adulthood. It feels like responsibility. But sometimes, late at night, you can feel it. That sense that you are not where you are supposed to be. Not geographically, existentially. Like you've taken a wrong turn years ago and kept driving because turning around felt embarrassing, and you've been telling yourself you'll correct the course later. The postponed life is full of almost called, almost left, almost started, almost said it, almost became, and sudden death turns almost into something final. Not because it kills you, because it shows you what almost really means. It means you were there, but you weren't. It means you were alive, but you were delaying your own living. And regret, when it comes, doesn't always come as a scream. Sometimes it comes as a quiet sentence you can't stop repeating. I thought there would be more time. You think it in the car. You think it while washing dishes. You think it while folding their clothes or packing them away or throwing something out and then digging it back out of the trash. because you can't bear the idea of losing another piece. I thought there would be more time, and the sentence doesn't just apply to them. It applies to everything, to the phone calls, to the dreams, to the version of you that was supposed to start after you got your life together, to the love you kept rationing, to the softness you withheld, to the risks you didn't take, to the art you didn't make, to the places you didn't go because it wasn't practical, to the mornings you slept through because you were exhausted from a life you didn't even like that much. And you realize something you probably knew before but never fully felt. Time is not a container. It's not something you possess. It's something you're inside of, and you don't control when you're let out. There's a moment, sometimes weeks later, sometimes months, where the shock thins out and what's left is clearer, not better, just clearer. You realize there isn't a lesson that wraps neatly. There isn't a moral you can extract and frame on the wall. There is only the truth that was there the whole time, and now it's closer to the surface. Time was never promised. Not to them, not to you. And it's strange because you don't walk around feeling cheated exactly. You walk around feeling exposed, like you've been living in a house with one wall missing and you never noticed until the wind came through. You start to see the ways people confuse longevity with certainty. How old were they, people ask, like age is a shield, like the right number buys you safety. But suddenly doesn't care. It doesn't negotiate. It doesn't look at your plans and decide you deserve more days. It just happens. And the absence it leaves behind isn't a dramatic hole in the world. It's a quiet shift, a missing laugh, a missing text, a missing weight on the couch, a missing voice in the other room. Life doesn't end loudly. A lot of the time it fades. And the people still here, still moving, still eating, still working, carry the fade inside them. They carry it into normal life, into grocery aisles and traffic and late-night kitchens. They carry it when they can't sleep. They carry it when they laugh and then feel guilty for laughing. They carry it when they realize the world kept going. They carry it when they realize they will also be the one who disappears from someone else's routine someday. And if there is meaning in it, it isn't inspirational. It isn't comforting. It's just accurate. Meaning exists only while you're present, not in theory. In the most ordinary way. In the way you listen when someone speaks. In the way you stay a few seconds longer. In the way you notice the light. In the way you answer the message while you still can. Not because you're trying to be a better person. Because the chance to be here is already slipping through your fingers, whether you respect it or not. And one day, without drama, without warning, you will become the absence in someone else's day. A gap, a missing step, a phone that doesn't light up anymore. And they will stand in their kitchen, or their hallway, or their car, and they will think a sentence they never wanted to learn. I thought there would be more time. And the night will keep moving around them, quietly, like it always has.